Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Spice Vader Garage. Today, going to be a quick one. Going to work on this car. Another little project we got going here, this Vibe GT 2003. As you can see, we got some stuff going on like this fender that needs replacing, but I'm not dealing with that today. What I'm going to be replacing is the driver's side wheel bearing. And we're going to be putting in this Timken replacement bearing, and I'm going to show you how to do that real quick on this Vibe GT. So let's get started. So this Vibe is the one that I got from my brother. You saw it last time on the channel here. And I'm going to be kind of covering a series of Vibe videos as we go throughout the journey of YouTube with my vehicles. So we're going to start today with this one. I noticed the wheel bearing was starting to make noise after I did some hard cornering. I was going about 60 around a decent curve. New sound in the Vibe. I don't know if the mic will pick this up. Big right curve. Let's hear it. It goes away when turning and then returns when you go straight. After I got to my destination, I noticed that when I left, the wheel bearing was making some noise. And, well, let's jack it up and I'll show you what we're dealing with here and what it sounds like. When you see that much movement, it's pretty obvious. The way I figured it out was that it didn't really change sound when I hit the brakes. So the first thing you want to do is just, again, jack the vehicle up and then throw a jack stand under for safety. Then we're going to zip this wheel off. We're going to need to take the brakes off, caliper, and rotor, and then we'll take the axle nut out. Grab a 14 mil socket, break the top bolt free on the caliper. I'll take the bottom bolt off. And then you'll want a way to hold your caliper out of the way while you work on your vehicle. Loop it through the big part, and I usually just hang it off of like the coil spring up here. Take off the pads. And then we'll want to take off the caliper bracket. So this will need a 17 millimeter. And this one might be a little bit of a tight fit there. There we go. Next, you'll take off the rotor. See how real loose that bearing is. So the next thing we'll do, take this axle nut off. You'll need a bigger socket. This is a 32 millimeter axle nut socket. We're going to need to take off the two bolts up here so we can pivot the arm down. So these ones are 22 millimeter. Thankfully, an impact should make light work of these. Or not. This should swing down, although we may run into an issue with the this ABS sensor. There's a 10 millimeter bolt here. Let's get to the other side. May want to take that sensor off just so we don't run into problems with stretching or pulling on that more than it should be. And we should be able to have enough clearance to pull this axle back, kind of leverage it out of the way. How are we going to actually replace this wheel bearing? So O'Reilly Auto Parts, or many of the auto parts stores, have this available for rental. It's the Evertough, I guess. Master Wheel Hub and Bearing Remover and Installer Kit. It's 67213 if you want to loan it. This cost me $400, but it's a loaner tool, so you return it and they'll give you your money back. But you only have 48 hours to do the job, so you got to be quick. Did I open it the wrong way? Yep, looks like I did. Must open this way. There we go. You're basically going to be doing a press on the vehicle. Let's take a look at our new wheel bearing here. So this one's all ready to go. You don't want to touch it too much because it's all pre-lubricated, so keep it in the bag until it's time to put it on. We need to press out the old one, and then we'll press in the new one.
This is the main part of the wheel bearing press. You could use it for removing and installing. And how we're going to do that to get this off, we took the snap ring pliers to get this out.
You get it? There. It wasn't pretty, but that's sort of how it comes out.
And this is the direction we want to push the bearing out, is this way. But first, we need to get the spindle off of the bearing. So we're going to have to press the spindle out. So this will be a 4-step process. We press out the spindle, press out the bearing, press in the new bearing, and then press in the spindle. So first, we're going to press this out. You could just use the nut to press it out. Now you want to make sure before you start to put some grease on the threads, just to make sure you don't, cause any damage. It just makes sure that there's lubrication. And then you want to center this so that the press is resting against another part of the hub and not the actual spindle itself. When you press it out, there should be enough clearance here that the spindle will come out. Okay, got the nut seated on there. Now we could take our 24mm socket, and you might need to just kind of hold this because it'll want to rotate. Put a bar through it. You could use a slide hammer. I've seen some people do it that way too. There we go. Yep, making crunchy noises. There it is. Back the nut out. You don't want to use impacts on these because that'll wreck the press, so just do it by hand. You don't want to be responsible for this $400 tool if you break it. So there it is. So this part looks to be still seized on here. Yeah, so we'll take care of that in a little bit. On some vehicles, there is a snap ring. This one does not have a snap ring, so it seats against this part. So we just need to press that back out. So this is where these big washers would come in. Step washer K. Looks like it fits nicely in there. If you don't have a good seating surface, you risk that it runs at an angle when it presses. So they have these shims that you can use to kind of make up the space. Let's pull out all the bearing guts first. Then we'll go back at it. And this is all basically garbage. So this, there isn't really any options in between. So I'm going to stick with this K, and you can see here it's going to rest against the sides of like the bearing race or whatever you call it. I'm just kind of eyeballing it for straightness here. Yeah, we'll try it there and see what it does. Yep, it's pushing. There it is. And there is the bearing. So we kind of pushed the guts out of it, but again, this bearing was shot. We don't care. It's done. So we're going to clean this up a little bit. We'll have to get the bearing race part that's like stuck on here. We'll have to get this off. Probably just use a Dremel and cut it off and split it and then peel it off. And then we can reuse it because it should be fine. Stupid thing. There. Yeah, I was trying to avoid doing that. I nicked it pretty good. I'm still going to use it. And I was fighting my stupid Dremel the whole time, which I think is dead now. Alright, back to our regularly scheduled carnage. We should be ready to install the new bearing. So we just want to make sure it's clean in there. You don't need to grease it. They're pre-lubed and pre-oiled from the factory, so it doesn't matter which way it goes in. It's the same either way. Line it up. You might want to tap it into place a little bit to get it started. Change from our step washer K to step L. Kind of hand tighten it. Check around for flushness. Then you can start to crank it into place. And you'll know when it's done because it'll bottom out and you can't go any further. Oh, there we go. You hear that sound? That's how you know it's moving. Almost. And that's against the seat there. That's 3 of 4 presses done. Okay, so here's how I've got it set up. We've got the spindle resting on the support plate, resting on an adapter, and then we're going to stick this all in, and it's going to push against that. So, we'll get it all hooked up. Grab the nut, stick it on. We'll just a breaker bar all the way into earth. There we go. There, now you can watch it press. Monitor the bearings so that you're not causing undue stress. And this will bottom out once, just like the old one came out. This one will sit flush to it once it's all the way in. I think we are at that point where it's bottomed out against the knuckle. We'll probably need another washer in there, so we'll have to take it all apart again. This is kind of an annoying process, but... That's all she wrote. It just needed that tiny little bit. And we are done! Hey, there's no play anymore. We're not entirely done, as we have to put this evil snap ring back into play. Oh my goodness, I actually got it in. All you gotta do is stick the axle back in, maybe throw a little bit of grease in here just for good measure, but it looks like I'm gonna have to address the tie rod end here because that ball joint is spooshing out all of its goodness. Yeah, that'll be next time's project. But that's basically it. We'll throw it all back together here. That's a pretty simple, self-explanatory process. Should be good. New wheel hub bearing is installed just for the cost of the part and lots of extra labor. So now I'm going to throw the wheel on and then we're going to drive it and see if that improved things, which I almost guarantee has improved everything. It's so stinking windy out. I don't know if I'm going to even be able to get footage off this. You can't really hear the wheel bearing, but there's no sounds other than the wind. It's pretty good. Works good. So it's the next day of driving, just puttering around town. It sounds great. Just normal road noise at this point. So wheel bearing, Timken, $51 and a $400 rental fee. Thanks for watching. Take care. God bless. Be sure to like and subscribe.